welcome to the How to Learn Anything course from Plato University, where you're going to learn the science-based tools of pro learners to accelerate your learning, remember more, and master any hard skills. These are the secret techniques they didn't tell you in school. If you're passionate about changing your life with learning, join us at plato.university to get exclusive content with every lesson. I'm your learning guide, Brandon Stover, and let's get started. All right, let's move to technique number 2, and this is called the Pomodoro Technique. Now, this technique is really going to help you make efficient time of your learning and help you to really focus intently and beat procrastination. Now, the Pomodoro Technique is really a sequence of steps to help you make an efficient time of your learning. So I'm quickly going to cover those so you understand what the technique is, and then we'll go more in depth later when I'm explaining how you can apply it yourself. So the Pomodoro Technique is really a cycle of first removing all distractions around your learning environment, and then setting a 25-minute timer. And during those 25 minutes, focusing intently on what you're learning or the work that you're doing. And then after those 25 minutes is up, you take a 5-minute break, give yourself a moment of rest, and continue the next cycle, setting up your next 25 minutes of work. Now, why is this so effective for your learning? Well, because setting aside specific amounts of time, like the 25 minutes in the Pomodoro Technique, allows you time of focused attention, giving your brain practice in focusing without disruption. Additionally, that 5-minute break is also important to the technique. Short mental breaks where you get away from focusing are ideal to allow you to transfer what you've learned into your long-term memory, clearing your mind for new learning when you do the next cycle. This technique also helps with your motivation because you anticipate the reward of that 5-minute break and it keeps you motivated while you're going through that 25-minute cycle. Additionally, if you struggle with motivation, it's much easier to commit and recommit yourself to short bursts of dedicated study rather than an endless study session. This also helps give you a repeatable process that you can do over and over again, making you focus more on that process rather than the goal or outcome of what you're learning. In the long run, having a good process in place is much more important than any one individual learning session or goal that you have in mind. Additionally, if this is material that you really don't want to learn but you need to, when you even just think about something you don't like or you don't want to do, it activates the insular cortex, causing a pain in your brain. And this pain diminishes after about 20 minutes of focus on the activity. So by doing a 25-minute cycle, you're getting yourself into that study mode and getting over the pain in the brain. Now, what's the result for you if you start applying this in your learning? Well, we've already mentioned the mental break part of the Pomodoro Technique is critically important, taking those 5 minutes. Because too prolonged of a focus doesn't give your brain enough time to offload the new material you're learning into the long-term memory, in which case any studying you're doing on top of the material that you're learning becomes less effective. In addition, specific areas of the brain can tire when you use them for too long, and this leads to something called cognitive exhaustion. So short 5 to 10 minute breaks involving complete mental relaxation are the best for enhancing what you've learned because the new information can settle without interference. All of this makes learning less of a drag and easier to get through in shorter sessions. How do we apply this concept at Plato University? Well, each of our lessons can be consumed in about 10 to 20 minutes with short activities that give your brain a chance to learn the material for that lesson and practice recall before moving on to the next. By breaking these courses up within days, you can learn a bit of material, do the activities, practice active recall, and allow that information to consolidate and take a break. You can start the next day or you can move on to the next lesson. But the idea is you're taking these short little bouts of learning. Now let's discuss fully how you can apply this to your learning. In anything that you're learning or studying or working on, use the Pomodoro Technique to structure your study sessions. So the first step is sit down where you'll be studying or working and removing any possible distractions. Remember, we talked about setting up the optimal learning environments. You want to make sure that wherever you're going to do this focused learning session is in that environment. This means ensuring there are no pop-ups or extraneous open tabs on your computer, things from your cell phone or anything else that could draw you off task. Next, you want to set a timer for 25 minutes. You can simply use the timer on your phone or some other timer app. They have lots of Pomodoro apps available, or even just an old school mechanical timer. Then step 3 is to dive in and study or work on something as intently as you can for those 25 minutes. If your mind wanders like everybody's does, just bring your attention back to the task at hand and focus on what you're working on. If something pertinent comes up that you feel like needs to get done during those 25 minutes, just write yourself a little to-do list so you can tackle that after you're done with your 25-minute session. Then step 4, reward yourself for about 5 to 10 minutes at the end of the Pomodoro session. You can just sit there and close your eyes and relax. You can go for a short little walk, maybe get a glass of water, pet your dog, anything that you can do for a little reward and give your mind a break. It's also best to avoid checking your cell phone or email during this break time to actually allow your brain a time to rest. When you're on those different devices, checking those things, your brain is still actively going and not allowing that time for things to start moving to your long-term memory. Then step 5, just repeat this process as appropriate. Let's say you're studying something for 2 hours. You can break this up into 4 cycles of Pomodoro Technique. Now, the 25-minute limit and 5-minute break is somewhat arbitrary. Some people want to work for longer bouts and then have a little bit of a longer break. Some may have different time limits that work best for them. This technique is highly adaptable. So if you get yourself into the flow and you find yourself wanting to consume past 25 minutes, then that's okay. Just don't forget that taking a mental break is important to this strategy. So if you're doing really well, you could work for 50 minutes and then take a 15-minute break. Now, something that will really make this technique highly effective is also to spend a few minutes of your break looking away from what you're studying and trying to actively recall what you just learned. And as we learned in the last technique, this is one of the most powerful ways to both remember and understand new information. So to practice this technique today, I want you to pick something to learn. It could be something on the internet, like learning how to create a new recipe, learning something in history, or maybe even just reading a book or an article. And what I want you to do is start learning that concept for 25 minutes and then take a 5-minute break. And during that 5-minute break, try and actively recall some of the things that you just learned. Thank you for taking the How to Learn Anything course. To get everything you need to become a pro learner, including advanced resources, personal coaching, and a community of passionate learners just like you, then visit plato.university/courses/learning and join us for free. Again, that's plato.university/courses/learning. This course was produced by Plato University, where students turn passions into purpose and learn skills to change the world. Learn more at plato.university.